The clack of the loom was a steady rhythm in Anaya'S life, a heartbeat echoing through the small, sun-drenched room that she called her sanctuary. Each sound resonated in the air, creating a metaphoric pulse that kept time with her thoughts and emotions. Sunlight filtered through the tiny window, casting a warm, golden glow over the wooden floorboards and illuminating the intricate patterns of the fabric she was creating. Crimson threads intertwined with gold, their shimmering shades reflecting her passion and dedication. As the tapestry slowly unfolded under her nimble fingers, each delicate touch adding a new dimension to her masterpiece. The captivating scene woven into the fabric depicted the serene peak of Mount Kailash, its snow-capped summit rising majestically into an azure sky, a stark contrast to the turbulent landscape of her mind, which felt chaotic and tempestuous. From her window, the vibrant tapestry of the valley spread below like a living painting, a bustling market alive with color, where merchants shouted over one another to advertise their wares, children's laughter echoing in the crisp mountain air like a sweet melody, and the rich, earthy scent of wood smoke and spices wafted on the breeze, grounding her in the reality that surrounded her. Yet, despite the beauty that unfolded right before her eyes, none of it touched the disquiet within her. It remained an impenetrable barrier that separated her from the joy these sights should have evoked. The beauty of the day only served to amplify the gnawing anxiety that clung to her like a second skin, wrapping around her like an unwanted embrace, suffocating yet inescapable. The rhythm that should have soothed her, a lullaby learned from the comforting memories of her childhood, filled with laughter and carefree innocence, now only served as a counterpoint to the frantic drumbeat in her chest that seemed to grow louder with each passing moment. Each clack of the loom reverberated like a harsh reminder of her mounting stress and expectations, drawing her attention back to the complicated web of thoughts that ensnared her mind, weaving a pattern of worry and unease that she couldn't seem to untangle. She worked with feverish energy, her fingers moving almost too quickly, as if trying to outrun the very thoughts that plagued her, a tremor betraying the inner turmoil that she desperately tried to suppress. The loom, once a source of comfort and creativity, an extension of her spirit and artistry, now felt like a cage with its unforgiving wooden frame, each clack a relentless reminder of the peace that continuously eluded her grasp. The intricate patterns she created were supposed to be an expression of her soul, but instead they reflected the chaos that dwelled within her, a chaotic landscape of fears, doubts, and unresolved emotions, intertwining like the threads on her loom. Each passes of color she set against the stark backdrop of her mental landscape became a vivid representation of her struggle, a silent plea for liberation from the turmoil that ensnared her heart and mind. That evening, seeking a momentary respite from the confines of her home, Anaya summoned the courage to venture down the winding path that meandered through the lush landscape to the village market. The dusky sky, painted in shades of purple and gold as the sun dipped below the horizon, enveloped the world in a warm embrace, inviting her to explore beyond the walls that felt so confining. The vibrant chaos of the marketplace, usually a source of invigorating energy that filled her with joy and purpose, had become a double-edged sword. Tonight, however, as she wandered into the throng of people, the cacophony of bartering voices merged into a swirling symphony that felt disorienting and uninviting. The air was thick with a mixture of sounds, the laughter of children darting between stalls, the sharp calls of vendors promoting their fresh wares, and the rustle of fabric as women haggled over colorful garments. Each sound echoed in her ears, amplifying her unease rather than soothing it, as the pungent aromas of spices and ripe fruits wafted through the air, creating a sensory overload that both fascinated and overwhelmed her senses. Anaya clutched a small, woven basket in her hands, its intricate designs a testament to the work of skilled artisans. But at that moment, it felt more like a weight than a tool. Her knuckles turned white as she gripped the handle tightly, anxiety coursing through her like an electric current, and her heart pounded against her ribs in a frantic rhythm that matched the pulse of the market around her. It was as if the very essence of the place was alive, bursting with energy that she couldn't quite tap into, leaving her feeling isolated in a sea of vibrant humanity. The colors of the stalls, deep reds, rich oranges and verdant greens, swirled together like a painter's palette, but all she could see was a blurry amalgamation that further amplified her feelings of disconnection. As she took a few hesitant steps closer to a stall overflowing with fragrant spices, saffron, cardamom, cumin and chili, the heady scents enveloped her, wrapping around her like a warm, spicy veil. She could pick out the distinct, sharp sweetness of cinnamon from the pile of sticks neatly arranged nearby, a reminiscence of cozy evenings spent stirring pots of simmering chai. Yet, it was not enough to quell the tumult within her. Then, through the din, she overheard a hushed conversation that piqued her curiosity. Two women stood nearby, their faces obscured by delicate veils that fluttered gently in the faint breeze as they spoke in low, conspiratorial tones. Their words were soft, yet laden with urgency, a melody threaded with secrecy that almost felt magnetic, drawing Anaya closer despite the swell of nerves that gripped her insides. With a mix of intrigue and trepidation, she inched her way nearer, her mind swirling with questions about what secrets lay just beyond her reach, eager for a hint of escapism from the whirlpool of thoughts that had ensnared her. Each word passed between the women resonated in her heart, stirring a sense of both fascination and anxiety, beckoning her to eavesdrop and perhaps discover something that could distract her from her own restless thoughts. "Have you heard?" one of the women whispered, her voice barely above a breath, yet laced with urgency as her eyes darted around conspiratorially, scanning their surroundings as if the very walls might have ears. The flickering lantern light cast dancing shadows around her, emphasizing the seriousness etched on her features. "He lives high in the mountains, a hermit. They say he holds the key to unlocking inner peace." Her words hung in the air like an enchanting incantation, drawing Anaya even closer, not wanting to miss a syllable of the intriguing tale unfolding before her. The mention of a hermit, an enigmatic figure residing atop the rugged mountains, instilled a sense of wonder within Anaya. What kind of wisdom could a man who had isolated himself from society possess? What experiences had shaped him into someone capable of holding the elusive key to inner tranquility? Images flooded her mind. A visage of a wise old man with a long beard, sitting cross-legged atop a cliff surrounded by swirling mists, the serenity radiating from him like a warm glow, offering solace to anyone lucky enough to cross his path. Anaya felt an innate yearning stir within her, a yearning for understanding, clarity, and the calming presence of peace that so often seemed just beyond her reach. However, the other woman quickly cut through Anaya'S reverie with a scoffing remark, her disdain evident in the way she waved her hand dismissively, as if swatting away an irritating fly. "Master Samadhi?" she exclaimed, her tone dripping with skepticism. "A fool's errand. Peace is found in accepting life's struggles, not running from them." The conviction in her voice was palpable, resonating with a wisdom born from personal experience. Anaya could feel a wave of tension wash over her as the woman's words struck a chord within her. Was there indeed truth in what the woman said? The thought of seeking out this hermit in pursuit of something as fleeting as peace suddenly felt futile, like chasing shadows in the fading twilight. Anaya'S thoughts swirled in a whirlwind of contemplation and doubt, a battle between the allure of mystical promises and the grounded reality of life's inherent challenges. The comparison between the two women's perspectives unfolded like a delicate tapestry, each thread revealing the beauty and complexity of human thought. While one spoke of escape and transcendence, the other rooted her beliefs firmly in the need to confront and accept the struggles that life presented. Anaya was caught at a crossroads, desperate for a resolution that lay somewhere in between. She felt her heart racing, ignited by the possibility of discovering a path forward, while grappling with the fear that she might be simply running from her own turbulent emotions. Both perspectives held a captivating truth, and the struggle within her echoed these contrasting viewpoints, pushing her to reconsider what it meant to find peace in a world filled with chaos. The air felt charged with energy as the women continued their deliberation, each sentence drawing Anaya deeper into a world of contemplation that contrasted starkly with the frenzy of the market surrounding them. She knew she should turn away, to retreat back into the bustling crowd where her worries felt momentarily shielded by the noise and activity. Yet the magnetic pull of this conversation anchored her in place. What if Master Samadhi held answers she so desperately sought? What if the mountains truly could offer her clarity, or perhaps even a glimpse of serenity? The inner conflict surged within her, urging her to take action, to explore not only the market that enveloped her, but the uncharted territories of her own heart and mind. Anaya froze, her breath catching in her throat like a faltering heartbeat. The name, Master Samadhi, resonated within her with an almost electric intensity, sending ripples of curiosity and hope surging through the dark, tumultuous sea of her anxiety. It felt as though a reluctant bloom was nudging its way through the cracks in her weary heart, igniting a spark of hope that had long been dormant. Could this be the answer she had been yearning for, the missing piece in the puzzle of her restless soul? The prospect of finding someone who could guide her toward a sense of inner peace seemed both thrilling and terrifying. The possibility, however remote, acted like a lifeline thrown into the turbulent waters of her mind, a glimmer of light that pierced through the overwhelming shadows of self-doubt and despair. She lingered near the stall, feigning interest as she pretended to examine the vibrant spices spread out before her. Deep red chilies, golden turmeric, and aromatic fenugreek seeds, though her mind was far from the colorful display. Each scent wafting through the air felt intoxicating, yet her focus was consumed entirely by the conversation she was desperate to hear. Her ears strained to catch every word, every nuance of the women's hushed tones, her heart racing with anticipation as she clung to that fleeting hope. It was as if the stall, the spices, and the bustling market faded into a blur, leaving only the figure of Master Samadhi, an image half-formed in her imagination, hovering in her mind like a mirage. She envisioned him as a wise sage, serene and contemplative in the face of life's struggles, perhaps seated upon a sunlit rock amidst the mountains, surrounded by nature's beauty, just out of reach yet tantalizingly close. That night, as the world outside fell into a peaceful slumber under a blanket of stars, sleep offered no solace to Anaya. She tossed and turned in the confines of her small bed, the soft cotton sheets twisting around her like restless serpents. The whispers from the market continued to swirl in her mind, echoing in a loop, a relentless chant that refused to fade away. The moon, a glowing orb peering through her window, cast long dancing shadows on her bedroom wall, mimicking the restless dance of her thoughts. Each flicker of light felt like a reminder of the uncertainty that clung to her, amplifying her resolve and her fears all at once. Her mind raced, caught in a whirlwind of possibilities and questions. What if she truly sought out Master Samadhi? What wisdom might he impart? Was he really capable of helping her find the peace she had so long chased? Amidst the chaos of her thoughts, her mother entered the room, her silhouette illuminated by the ethereal moonlight. With a gentle demeanor and a heart full of love, she moved to Anaya'S bedside, her face etched with concern, deep lines telling stories of devotion and worry alike. The sight of her mother, illuminated in that precious moment of connection, brought an unexpected comfort, a soothing balm in the tumultuous night. With a quiet sigh, Anaya felt herself relax in the warmth of that presence, the nagging turbulence in her mind momentarily quieting under the weight of maternal love. "Anaya, dear, what troubles you?" Her mother's voice whispered, smooth and sweet, like a lullaby meant to chase away nightmares. She reached out, brushing Anaya'S hair away from her forehead tenderly, her touch imbued with a mother's intuition, a silent understanding of the battles her daughter faced. Anaya looked up, her heart aching with the desire to confess the swirling fears and hopes that threatened to spill over, but instead she offered a tentative smile, a fragile barrier against the storm within. It was a fragile mask she wore, shielding her vulnerabilities, even as the allure of Master Samadhi loomed in the back of her mind, promising answers to questions she had yet to voice. In that moment, surrounded by the soft glow of moonlight and her mother's unwavering support, Anaya found a flicker of solace amidst the chaos, a reminder that she was not truly alone in this confusing journey of the heart and mind. "Still wrestling with your thoughts, little bird," her mother murmured, her voice soft as the whisper of the wind through the mountain pines. Each word flowed gently into the room, wrapping around Anaya like a comforting embrace. It was a nickname filled with affection, a reminder of the delicate yet fierce spirit that resided within her. The soothing sound of her mother's voice cut through the restless tide of anxiety that ebbed and flowed in Anaya'S mind, creating a momentary space where the noise faded into the background, even if just for a fleeting second. Anaya nodded, her heart aching as tears welled up in her eyes, glistening like drops of dew caught in the early morning light. It was a familiar struggle, one that seemed to stretch on endlessly, refusing to loosen its grip on her. "I can't quiet the storm inside, Mother. It never ceases." Her voice trembled, each word a delicate release of the pent-up emotions she had been holding at bay. The whirlwind of thoughts that surrounded her felt like an unrelenting tempest, swirling violently and tossing her about on the tumultuous seas of her worries. No matter how she tried to find calm, to breathe through the chaos, it roared back louder and fiercer, a relentless force that left her feeling small and vulnerable. Her mother's gaze softened even further, filled with an understanding born from years of experience. It was as if she could sense the depth of Anaya'S internal struggle, the weight of unspoken fears that clung to her like a heavy cloak. "Oh, my sweet girl," she replied gently, her voice a grounded anchor amidst the storm. "Sometimes it can feel like our minds are at war, fighting battles we don't even understand. You mustn't be afraid to feel these emotions. They are part of being human." The words wrapped around Anaya, a soothing balm to the aching heart she had tried so hard to shield. Anaya wiped the tears from her cheeks, her mother's compassion stirring something within her. "I wish I could see the world differently," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I long for the peace they talk about in the market, the peace that Master Samadhi is said to possess. I wonder if I will ever find it." The weight of her admission hung between them, like the shimmering stars that adorned the night sky, each one a beacon of hope that seemed impossibly far yet achingly close. Her mother shifted her weight, leaning closer to Anaya, her eyes glistening with shared worry and deep affection. "Finding peace is more than just a destination, dear heart," she explained, her tone thoughtful and deliberate. "It's a journey, an exploration of the heart and mind. Maybe you don't have to face it alone." The quiet intimacy of that moment wrapped around them like a gentle fog, instilling in Anaya a sense of comfort she had been missing, a reassurance that she did not have to navigate the storm alone. "But how do I begin?" Anaya questioned, her voice laden with uncertainty and desire for direction. "What steps can I take to quiet this chaos?" Her mother contemplated the question for a moment, searching for the right words in the space between heartbeats. "Perhaps the first step is to embrace the storm," she said finally, her voice unwavering. "Allow yourself to feel every single emotion without judgment. Let it wash over you." Anaya looked at her mother, the truth in those words resonating deeply. "Meditation and mindfulness can help too," her mother added, "drawing you back to the present moment, grounding you in the here and now. But remember, it is okay to seek help outside if you need it. Sometimes, sharing our burdens can lighten our hearts." Anaya absorbed her mother's wisdom, feeling a flicker of possibility ignite within her, a timid flame that had the power to grow brighter if nurtured with care. Though the path ahead seemed daunting, the idea of embracing the journey rather than fearing it felt liberating, as if a heavy shroud had been lifted. With each word spoken in the stillness of the night, surrounded by the lasting comfort of her mother's love, she felt a renewed sense of purpose begin to blossom in her heart. "Thank you, Mother," Anaya breathed, her voice thick with emotion. "I'll try to remember that." As she wiped away the last remnants of her tears, she felt a little lighter, as if the storm was still present, but no longer unmanageable. With the comforting presence of her mother beside her, the journey toward inner peace suddenly felt within reach, one step at a time. Her mother settled beside her on the bed, their familiar sanctuary illuminated by the soft, silvery light of the moon filtering through the window. She took Anaya'S hand in hers, the warmth of her touch wrapping around Anaya'S fingers like a protective cocoon, a familiar comfort that seemed to seep into her very bones. It was a simple act, yet it carried the weight of countless shared moments, of tenderness and fortitude, as if her mother's love could shield her from the tempests that raged within. "The loom, Anaya," she said gently, her voice imbued with a soothing calm that resonated deeply with Anaya'S restless spirit. The wisdom in her mother's words flowed like a gentle stream, familiar yet profound, filled with lessons gleaned from years of navigating life's trials and tribulations. Remember its lessons, each thread of worry, each strand of fear. Acknowledge them, weave them into the tapestry of your life. Don't fight the storm, understand it. Anaya felt a flicker of recognition ignite within her as she listened intently, absorbing the powerful imagery her mother painted with those carefully chosen words. The loom, her constant companion that had often felt like a burdensome weight on her shoulders, could also serve as a wise teacher in her life, a conduit through which she could transform her chaos into something meaningful. The thought began to take root in her mind. Like a seed unfolding in warm soil, the delicate strands of her anxiety, each fraught with emotion, could be interwoven into something beautiful, something whole, that reflected not only her struggles, but also her resilience. As she regarded her mother's serene expression, a glimmer of understanding dawned in her troubled eyes. What if, instead of resisting her feelings, she embraced them? What if she allowed herself to acknowledge them, to weave each disquieting thought into the fabric of her existence rather than viewing them as intrusions? The imagery was both fragile and powerful, a whisper of possibility that breathed life into her somber thoughts. In that moment of clarity, Anaya began to forge a connection between the act of weaving and the intricate patterns of her own mind. The loom, with its rhythmic clacking and colorful threads, became a metaphor for her emotional landscape, an opportunity to create meaning from the chaos that surrounded her. Each thread of worry could be carefully placed alongside the vibrant ones of joy and connection, creating a complex tapestry that told her story. Just as she learned to create beauty from the fibers stretched across the wooden frame, perhaps she could learn to craft a life that acknowledged the darker threads, while also celebrating the lighter ones. The thought opened a door inside her heart, offering the first glimpse of hope in the darkness that had often engulfed her. Hope that perhaps peace was not an unattainable goal, nor was it something to be chased blindly. Instead, it could be a gradual journey marked by self-acceptance and understanding. A journey defined by the gentle act of weaving together all that life had gifted her, both fabulous and flawed. It was indeed a promise whispered sweetly amidst the turmoil that the storm, instead of being an adversary, could become a partner in the artistry of her life, guiding her to a deeper understanding of herself. With renewed determination, Anaya looked at her mother, her heart swelling with gratitude for the empathy and wisdom she so effortlessly shared. "I'll try, Mother," she said softly, her voice tinged with newfound conviction. "I'll try to see the storm as part of the tapestry." As she spoke the words, she felt a shift within herself, as though the very fabric of her being were beginning to realign. The journey ahead still felt daunting and uncertain, yet she realized that by weaving her experiences, acknowledging her challenges, and embracing each thread of emotion, she could slowly stitch together the very fabric of her existence, a tapestry that celebrated both the struggles and the triumphs that made her who she was. In that sacred moment, under the watchful gaze of the moon, Anaya took a deep breath, feeling her mother's presence anchor her amidst life's tumult. It was a step, a tentative yet significant step on a path she couldn't yet see, but as she embraced the uncertainty, she also felt a flicker of possibility spark within her, guiding her toward the elusive promise of peace. The next morning, the valley was shrouded in a thick mist, a heavy blanket of grey that muted the vibrant colours of the world around her, mirroring the fog in Anaya'S mind. It was as if nature itself echoed her inner turmoil, each tendril of mist weaving through the trees and wrapping around the landscape, obscuring her familiar surroundings. The fresh chill in the air felt crisp against her skin, though it did little to penetrate the swirling haze of uncertainty that clouded her thoughts. Her mother's words echoed persistently in her mind. "Don't fight the storm. Understand it." But how? The concept felt abstract, intangible, like trying to grasp smoke with her bare hands. Each attempt left her feeling more frustrated and isolated. Yet, amidst the confusion, the seed of hope planted by the whispers in the market had taken root, growing stronger with each heartbeat. Master Samadhi. The name reverberated in her consciousness, resonating with a quiet power that compelled her to seek out answers. Driven by a nascent sense of purpose, Anaya began preparations for her journey, each action fueled by the flicker of determination ignited within her. She moved deliberately around her small home, the muted silence enclosing her like a cocoon, making sure each item she packed held significance. She filled a small bag with provisions, dried fruits that reminded her of summers spent under the sun, nuts bursting with energy, and a sturdy water skin to quench her thirst along the way. Each item seemed to carry its own story, a fragment of her past woven into her present, reminding her of the strength she discovered in small, everyday moments. Her loom, usually her first concern and faithful companion, stood silent and still in the corner of the room. Its wooden frame, which had often felt like a sanctuary, now appeared less inviting, a testament to her shifting priorities as she prepared to step away from her familiar patterns into the unknown. This was not just a hesitation, but an almost palpable transformation taking place within her. She ran her fingers along the half-finished tapestry, the intricate threads coming together to create the serene image of Mount Kailash, a silent promise of peace and beauty. The tapestry, a representation of her hopes and aspirations, felt both complete and incomplete. It reminded her that art was not just about the finished piece, but also about the journey taken to create it, the very essence of her emotional landscape. As Anaya touched the woven fabric, she felt a sense of connection to the mountain's magnificence. Despite its lofty heights, it had rooted itself firmly in the earth, embodying strength and resilience. The image comforted her, whispering reminders that growth often came from confronting the storms within, that understanding her own experiences would ultimately thread her existence into something profound. She realized that every stitch in her tapestry mirrored her journey, each piece of worry and thread of fear interwoven with strands of hope and joy. With one last lingering glance at her loom, she turned to gather the final items, each selection reflecting her desire to embrace the journey ahead. As she stepped outside, the mist swirled around her like a protective shroud, both daunting and reassuring. It was a reminder of the uncharted territory that lay before her, a landscape of uncertainty that was pregnant with potential. The world seemed muted, yet vibrant in its own way. The colors were hidden, waiting to be revealed once the sun broke through the fog, just as she hoped to find clarity within the depths of her own struggles. Anaya took a deep breath, inhaling the earthy scent of the damp air, feeling her heart begin to quicken with anticipation. The path to Master Samadhi lay hidden somewhere within the mist, beckoning her to embrace the unknown. Each step she took felt like a dance with destiny, a movement away from the safety of the past and toward the possibility of transformation. She was no longer just a weaver of threads. She was becoming a creator of her own tapestry, shaped by the experiences yet to come. With renewed determination fueling her spirit, Anaya stepped onto the winding path, the entire landscape seeming to hold its breath around her. This was only the beginning, a journey toward not just the elusive Master Samadhi, but also towards a deeper understanding of herself, her fears, and the delicate threads that interlinked her life. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the mist, painting the sky in stunning hues of rose and gold, Anaya slipped quietly out of her home. She paused for a moment to take in the breathtaking beauty of the dawn, feeling the warmth of the rising sun begin to seep into her skin, washing over her like a gentle hug. But even beneath that serene exterior, her heart pounded a mixture of fear and anticipation that echoed in her ears. Today was different. Today marked the beginning of a journey she had only dared to imagine in her most hopeful dreams. The mountain path loomed before her, steep and treacherous, a tangible and formidable embodiment of the challenges that lay ahead. It was not just a geographical ascent, but a symbolic climb toward understanding her inner storm, and that realization filled her with both trepidation and excitement. The climb quickly proved to be arduous. With every upward step, the air grew thinner, becoming a palpable challenge that squeezed the breath from her lungs and made each inhale feel like a laborious task. Her legs began to burn with the effort, protesting against the ascent as she pushed herself onward. The path was strewn with loose rocks and gnarled roots, treacherous obstacles that seemed to conspire against her resolve. Each misstep could turn into a fall, each moment of distraction a potential hazard in the unforgiving terrain. The beauty of the mountain around her, soaring peaks that reached for the heavens, cascading waterfalls that danced joyfully down rocky cliffs, seemed to mock her struggle. It was a stark reminder of how small and insignificant she felt in the face of such majesty. And yet, amidst the challenges, she found herself mesmerized by the spectacular scenery, each vista revealing nature's grandeur and resilience, echoing the themes she longed to uncover within herself. Yet with each upward step, something began to shift within her. A strange sense of calm settled over her, creeping into her veins like the soft caress of the mountain breeze. The physical exertion demanded her full attention. The focus required to navigate the treacherous terrain became a meditative practice in itself. Each careful placement of her foot on the rocky path drew her deeper into the present moment. The incessant chatter in her mind gradually receded, quieting as the natural world enveloped her in its embrace. The rhythmic sound of her breath, mingled with the rustle of leaves and the distant rush of water, began to create a soothing melody that accompanied her ascent. It was as if every challenge she faced on that path was a reminder of her strength, prompting her to embrace the struggle, to understand it rather than fight against it. As she climbed higher, Anaya'S perspective shifted. The mountainside, once an intimidating barrier, began to feel like a teacher, guiding her to confront the fears and anxieties she had wrestled with for so long. With each gained elevation, she felt the burdens she had carried slowly lift, replaced by a burgeoning sense of empowerment and purpose. Small triumphs surged through her as she found her footing and steadied her path, a reminder that she had the strength to push through adversity. Her heart, once racing from fear, now beat with exhilaration, fueling her resolve to reach the summit and the wisdom that awaited her. The mist that had enveloped the valley began to dissipate, revealing glimpses of the world below, the vibrant greens and earthy browns of the landscape unfurling like a painted canvas. As Anaya ascended further, the sun continued to rise, casting golden rays that illuminated the path ahead, serving as a guiding light that urged her on with each resolute step. The embodiment of her fears began to transform. The mountain was no longer an adversary, but a steadfast companion on her journey, a manifestation of all the complexities she sought to understand in her life. With the summit still looming in the distance, Anaya felt a powerful connection to the earth beneath her feet, a kindred spirit that resonated with her own evolving journey. As the path stretched before her and the challenges loomed like shadows, a resilient fire ignited within, pushing her forward with each determined step. This was not just a climb, it was the beginning of her quest towards understanding the storm within, the first tangible representation of her inner journey toward peace. Days blurred into a rhythm of climbing, resting, and reflecting as Anaya made her way up the mountain, each moment blending seamlessly into the next. The mountain, with its towering heights and unyielding challenges, became her teacher, a living entity that whispered lessons of endurance and perseverance into her eager heart. Its unforgiving slopes were a constant reminder of her own resilience, the strength that resided within her even amidst doubt and uncertainty. Each day presented new challenges. She faced a sudden downpour that turned the path into a muddy stream, her feet slipping and sliding as her heart raced with frustration. There were moments when a fallen tree blocked her way, forcing her to scramble and find an alternate route through the dense underbrush. She endured moments of despair, grappling with uncertainty and fear that clawed at her spirit, questioning the wisdom of her journey and whether she was truly destined for this path. But each time she faltered, each time despair threatened to consume her, she recalled her mother's words, and her spirit rekindled. Don't fight the storm. Understand it. The mantra echoed like a steadfast drumbeat in her mind, a rhythmic reminder to embrace the challenges before her rather than succumb to the weight of fear. In those moments of difficulty, her hand instinctively reached out to touch the small, smooth stone that her mother had given her before she set out, a simple token imprinted with love and support. The stone felt cool against her palm, grounding her amidst the chaos. It was a talisman of her strength, a physical embodiment of her mother's unwavering love and faith that awaited her return. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a breathtaking palette of fiery hues across the sky, a brilliant tapestry of orange, pink, and deep purple, Anaya stumbled upon a small, secluded cave nestled within the mountainside. Exhausted from the day's grueling ascent and hungry for rest, she sought shelter within its mouth, grateful for the sanctuary it provided against the cool evening air. The cave felt inviting, its rocky walls adorned with ancient moss and the scent of damp earth filling her lungs. It was a place of refuge, a pause in the relentless journey, and she sank into the coolness of the cave, an overwhelming sense of relief washing over her. As she sat there wrapped in a thin shawl that offered little warmth but comforted her weary body, the profound silence of the mountain enveloped her like a blanket. It was a different kind of silence than the one she had experienced in the clutches of her anxious mind. This silence was vast, profound, imbued with a quiet energy that felt alive, pulsating gently in the dim light filtering through the cave entrance. It was a silence that held space, allowing her thoughts to flow freely like a river, unhurried and unrestricted. In this stillness, she began to reflect on her journey thus far. The upheavals she faced, both external and internal, seemed to crystallize in her mind under the brilliance of the setting sun that painted the cave in warm hues. The struggles, she realized, were not just obstacles. They were essential threads woven into the tapestry of her life, shaping her into a stronger, more resilient individual. In the safety of the cave, the wave of realization washed over her, merging beautifully with the comforting silence around her. The cave was more than just a temporary shelter. It was a sanctuary for introspection, a sacred space where she could confront her fears and acknowledge her triumphs. As darkness began to settle, the quietude broke occasionally with the distant sounds of the mountain, a soft rustle of leaves, the occasional call of night creatures, the trickling of water nearby. These sounds, once intrusive, now felt like a melodic serenade, underscoring her moments of clarity. Anaya took a deep breath, savoring the earthy scents that filled the cave, a blend of moss and stone, vibrant and alive. It was here, in this small cocoon of solitude, that she allowed her thoughts to wander freely, to explore the depths of her heart and mind without constraint. The overwhelming sense of peace filled her, drawing her closer to the understanding that perhaps, just perhaps, the storm within her was not something to fear, but to understand and embrace fully. In the heart of that cave, with the mountains standing guard and the evening stars beginning to twinkle against the deepening night sky, Anaya felt a profound sense of connection, both to the earth beneath her and to the spirit of the journey she had embarked upon. The path ahead was still uncertain and fraught with challenges, but in that moment of stillness, she recognized that she was well on her way. Each step taken had been a testament not only to her resilience, but to the unfolding beauty of her own story, one woven together by threads of strength, love, and relentless hope. In that stillness, a profound realization washed over her like a gentle wave lapping against the shore. The storm within her hadn't ceased, nor had it diminished in intensity, but she was no longer fighting it. Instead, she found herself observing it, acknowledging its presence without judgment, like a distant thunder that announced its arrival but didn't demand immediate action. This understanding felt liberating, a revelation that shifted the very foundation of her emotional landscape. Acceptance was dawning in her heart, a quiet but powerful transformation. This, she understood, was the first monumental step toward healing. The storm, with all its swirling fears and anxieties, was a part of her, much like the vibrant threads of her weaving. By recognizing and accepting its presence rather than resisting it, she was beginning to weave this tumultuous energy into the tapestry of her being, an integral part of her story that could coexist with her moments of peace and joy. Emerging from the cave the next morning, the world greeted her differently, rich with possibility and promise. The fresh mountain air filled her lungs, invigorating her senses as she looked out at the path that lay ahead, glistening with morning dew and illuminated by the soft, golden light of dawn. Anaya felt a renewed sense of purpose surging through her veins. The sun, like a faithful companion, rose with her, casting rays of hope that kissed her skin with warmth. The path ahead remained uncertain, fraught with the remnants of her fear and the unknown challenges waiting to be encountered. Yet the fear that had once consumed her, wrapping around her heart like constricting vines, had loosened its grip. It was as if a gentle wind had blown through her mind, scattering the clouds of doubt, leaving behind a clearer sky for her thoughts to soar. As she stepped onto the trail, Anaya felt a subtle shift in her demeanor. She was no longer running from the storm that thrummed within her, her heart beating in synchrony with its turbulent energy. Instead, she was learning to navigate it, moving forward with newfound courage to embrace both the calm and the chaos that life presented. Each footfall echoed with intention, a reminder that she was not merely a passive observer in her life, but an active participant, choosing her direction and response in the face of uncertainty. With every step, she acknowledged the swirling storm inside her, a blend of hopes and fears, doubts and dreams, allowing it to exist unopposed, weaving it gently into her journey. She recalled her mother's timeless wisdom, "Understand it," the phrase resonating like a drumbeat in her mind. Understanding did not mean submission. It was about recognizing the complexity of her emotions and honoring the journey that was unfolding within her. Each challenge she encountered on the path ahead would be another thread to weave through her tapestry, transforming her struggles into strength, her fears into resilience. The mountain loomed majestically above her, its peaks shrouded in wisps of cloud, a symbol of the challenges she still had to face, but also a testament to the heights she could reach with perseverance and patience. Anaya felt her spirits lift as she walked, anticipation sparking within her like fireworks illuminating the night sky. She no longer felt alone on this journey. The mountain had become her ally, the silent guardian urging her on, whispering secrets of courage and resilience. With the sun climbing higher, Anaya continued on her path, feeling lighter and more connected to the world around her. She was beginning to embrace the paradox that life presented, the storm and the stillness, the fear and the strength. In the heart of her journey up the mountainside, she found a deeper connection with her own spirit, realizing that each step forward was not just a physical ascent, but an inward exploration, an opportunity to become the artist of her own life's tapestry. As she forged ahead into the unknown, Anaya felt a surge of gratitude for the experiences that had brought her to this moment. Each climb, each moment of reflection and struggle had shaped her, and she embraced the unfolding journey with open arms. She was no longer just a weaver of threads. She was becoming the weaver of her destiny, a tapestry rich with color, complexity, and beauty, with hope and acceptance woven through the very fabric of her existence. The journey continued, each step carving a new chapter in Anaya'S unfolding story as the landscape transformed dramatically around her. The dense forests that had cocooned her in a world of greenery and life gradually gave way to barren rock, the terrain becoming more rugged and untamed as she climbed higher. The air grew thinner, the temperature cooler, challenging her resolve, yet within her a strong determination blossomed. The sun rose higher during her ascent, illuminating a profound sense of purpose that propelled her forward, urging her to embrace whatever lay ahead. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime of struggling against the elements and pushing through the storm within, Anaya crested a ridge, and there it was, in the distance, a small, unassuming temple perched precariously on a cliff edge, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. Her heart soared at the sight, a swell of emotion that rose like a wave crashing against the shore. She had reached her destination. She had found Master Samadhi. This moment, years in the making, filled her with a sense of accomplishment and wonder. The temple stood resolute against the backdrop of the vast sky, an emblem of hope and wisdom, promising answers to the turmoil she had carried for so long. As she approached the temple, a sense of serenity washed over her, enveloping her in a tranquil embrace, a stark contrast to the turbulent emotions that had once held her captive. The temple exuded a quiet power, its simple structure built from rough-hewn stone, each rock seemingly filled with stories of those who had come before her in search of enlightenment. It appeared modest and unpretentious, yet radiated an aura that felt sacred, drawing her closer with an unspoken assurance that she had arrived at a place meant for her. Anaya stepped into the small courtyard, which was swept clean of debris, allowing the sun's golden rays to dance upon its surface. The breathtaking view of the valley below stretched out before her, painted in the rich colors of dusk, golden yellows blending into deep oranges and bluish purples, each hue a reminder of the beauty that existed beyond her inner chaos. Here, at this precipice, she felt a profound connection to the earth and sky, a sense of belonging in a world that had often felt alien and overwhelming. In the center of this serene space, a lone figure draped in saffron robes sat in meditation, his back to her, exuding an aura of calm wisdom that radiated beyond the confines of the stone walls. This was Master Samadhi. The sight of him, serene and still, stilled the lingering storm within Anaya. She was transfixed, her heart racing with eager anticipation. The robe he wore seemed to glow in the soft light, symbolizing the wisdom and grounding presence he embodied. Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer, feeling a mix of excitement and reverence. The world around her quieted, each sound infused with a sacred hush, as if the very mountain held its breath in acknowledgement of the moment. Anaya could feel her pulse quicken in her veins, each thump echoing the questions that danced on the tip of her tongue. Would he understand her struggles? Would he help her find the peace she yearned for? Despite the doubts that still lingered in her mind, a sense of clarity blossomed within her. She was here, not merely as a seeker, but as a participant in her own transformation. This was her moment to share the storm that raged within her and to learn how to navigate through it. With a heart full of hope and an unwavering resolve to discover her path, Anaya approached Master Samadhi, ready to embrace whatever wisdom he might impart. She stood before him for a moment, collecting her thoughts, allowing the stillness of the space to fill her. And then she knelt down on the cool stone, humbled by the journey that had brought her here. It was time to confront the tempest within, she thought. It was time to learn from the Master. Hesitantly, Anaya entered the courtyard, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The atmosphere was thick with tranquility, yet the weight of her journey pressed down on her shoulders as she stepped into the sacred space. The figure seated before her turned slowly, and as their eyes met, Anaya was struck by the depth of his gaze, deep and compassionate, as if they could pierce through the layers of her soul. An unspoken understanding passed between them, filling the air with a warm, welcoming energy. He smiled, a gentle, knowing smile that spoke volumes, communicating a sincerity that calmed the storm inside her, if only for a moment. "Welcome, Anaya," he said, his voice soft as the rustling leaves in the gentle breeze that danced through the courtyard. "I have been expecting you." As his words washed over her, Anaya felt a wave of emotion pour through her, a powerful blend of relief, gratitude, and a flicker of the fear that still lingered within. It was astonishing to her, this feeling of being seen and recognized for who she was, and the journey she had undertaken. All of the hardships and struggles she had faced seemed to converge in this moment, rendering her vulnerable, yet resolute. With a mixture of nervousness and reverence, she knelt before Master Samadhi, her heart pounding in her chest. "Master Samadhi," she began, her voice trembling as she spoke. The words felt heavy on her tongue, laden with years of unvoiced fears and desires. "I have traveled far to seek your wisdom. I have struggled with a storm within me that often feels insurmountable. I don't know how to find peace." As she spoke, the rawness of her emotions surfaced, spilling forth like a river breaking free from a dam. Anaya'S hands clenched into fists on her lap, a physical manifestation of the turmoil she had carried for so long. This was her moment of truth, stripped bare of pretense, laying her heart open before the very person she had sought for guidance. Master Samadhi remained silent for a moment, his eyes locked onto hers with an unwavering intensity, as though he were searching the depths of her soul for the answers she sought. The peacefulness that flowed from him wrapped around her like a warm embrace, comforting yet unyielding. His silence was not one of dismissal. Rather, it felt like an invitation for her to reflect, to delve deeper into her own thoughts and feelings as she faced the fears that had held her captive. "Anaya," he finally spoke, his voice imbued with a gentle strength. "The storm you feel within you is not something to be feared or fought against. It is a part of you, a reflection of your struggles and your journey. Just as the mountain teaches us that we must find our footing upon uneven ground, so too must you learn to navigate the turbulence within. Acknowledging your fears is the first step toward mastering them." His words resonated deep within her, softening the tension she had held in her heart. There was a profound truth in what he said, a truth that echoed her mother's wisdom and the reflections she had gleaned from her ascent up the mountain. Anaya took a deep breath, allowing the warmth of his gaze and the serenity of the surroundings to soothe her turbulent emotions, if only slightly. "But how do I do that?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper, the vulnerability of her inquiry piercing the tranquility of the courtyard. "How can I learn to embrace the storm and transform it into something beautiful?" Master Samadhi's smile remained, and he gestured toward the vast expanse of the valley below, the fading light illuminating the rolling hills and the hidden paths that crisscrossed through the land. "Each storm is unique, Anaya. It carries with it the seeds of growth, if only you allow it to. To transform chaos into beauty, you must first cultivate acceptance. Acknowledge your feelings without judgment. Give them space to breathe. Instead of viewing them as obstacles, see them as threads in the tapestry of your life. Just as you weave, you can untangle the patterns and create something new." As his words sank in, Anaya felt a flicker of understanding ignite within her. The potential for transformation lay within her grasp, and it began with acceptance. The knowledge felt empowering, filling her with purpose and determination. "Thank you, Master Samadhi," she replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I am ready to learn, to embrace the storm, and allow it to guide me toward peace." Master Samadhi nodded approvingly, his expression radiating warmth and encouragement. "Then let us begin this journey together. Understanding the storm requires patience, reflection, and practice. You are already on your way." In that moment, surrounded by the profound stillness of the temple and the magnificent beauty of the mountain, Anaya felt the first genuine spark of peace flicker within her, setting her on a path she could finally embrace. This was only the beginning, a journey of truth and healing, guided by the wisdom of a master and the resolve she had found within herself. "Master," she whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of her emotions, "I have come seeking peace. My mind is a storm, a constant battle against my own thoughts. I can find no rest." The words fell from her lips like fragile leaves caught in the winds of despair, each syllable carrying the burden of her struggles, the echoes of sleepless nights filled with anxiety, uncertainty, and the relentless quest for calm. Master Samadhi nodded, his gaze unwavering, as if he could see through the chaos in her mind, straight to the heart of her seeking spirit. "The storm, Anaya," he said, his voice steady and soothing, is not your enemy. It is a part of you. Like the wind, it can be destructive, but it can also carry seeds to new lands, shaping the landscape of your being. His words resonated deeply within her, planting a seed of awareness that began to unearth truth beneath the layers of fear she had been clinging to. He gestured for her to sit beside him, and she obliged, nestling herself on the cool stones of the temple courtyard, feeling the earth beneath her grounding and steady. The setting sun cast a warm glow around them, as if nature itself welcomed their discussion, creating an intimate space for her to lay bare her heart. "Tell me about your storm," he invited gently, his tone imbued with warmth and sincerity. Anaya felt the tension within her begin to ease as she took a moment to gather her thoughts. The storm had been a constant companion, a cacophony of fears, expectations, and relentless self-doubt that often felt insurmountable. She closed her eyes briefly, inhaling the crisp air, then exhaling deeply, letting the anxiety dissipate with the breath. "My thoughts race uncontrollably," she began, her voice soft yet steady. "It's as if I am caught in a whirlwind, unable to find a moment of peace. I worry about the future, about my abilities, about whether I will ever find the calm I seek. The more I try to silence the noise, the louder it becomes. It feels like a never-ending cycle." As she spoke, Anaya could almost visualize the storm brewing inside her, a swirling tempest of dark clouds and fierce winds that busily churned within her mind. Each worry was a raindrop that fell, adding to the deluge, drowning out clarity and light. She looked at Master Samadhi, seeking understanding in his calm demeanor, hoping for a glimmer of wisdom that would illuminate her path. He listened attentively, nodding gently, as if each word was a thread he was carefully weaving into a tapestry of understanding. When she finished, he leaned in slightly, his expression earnest. "You describe a powerful storm, Anaya, one that obscures your horizon. But remember, storms reveal the landscape beneath the surface. They expose what is hidden. Your mind may be turbulent, but it also possesses the strength to create. The wind can shape mountains, carve rivers. It can also disperse seeds that bloom into something beautiful." Anaya felt a flicker of hope emerge as she absorbed his words. It was a different perspective, one that painted the storm as a potential ally rather than a foe. "So, you are saying the storm can give way to growth?" she ventured, curiosity blooming within her. "It is not just a force to be reckoned with, but a catalyst for change?" "Exactly," he affirmed, his eyes glinting with understanding. "When you face the storm within, you can uncover the roots of your fears. Embrace them, acknowledge their presence, and allow them to be part of your journey. The more you resist them, the stronger they become. Instead, welcome them. Let them teach you. This practice can help soften the intensity of your turmoil and invite in the possibility of peace." Anaya felt her heart begin to lighten at the thought. Embracing the storm as part of her journey, what a radical notion. The idea shifted her perspective, urging her to see beyond mere chaos and harness the energy of her thoughts instead. "How do I begin this practice?" she asked, eagerness lacing her voice. Master Samadhi smiled knowingly, recognizing the spark of willingness igniting inside her. "Observation is the first key. Instead of battling your thoughts, sit with them as you would with a friend. Understand their origins, what fuels your fears and worries. Meditate on this. Let each thought come and go without judgment. You will find that by acknowledging them, they lose a portion of their power. And with time, you will learn to steer your thoughts toward what nourishes you." Anaya absorbed his wisdom like a parched plant soaking up rain, her mind whirring with the potential transformation that lay before her. "It sounds so simple," she mused thoughtfully. "Yet I know it will take practice and patience." "Indeed," Master Samadhi replied, his voice filled with encouragement. Patience is essential in this journey. Like the mountain, personal growth requires time and dedication. Trust the process, and remember that peace is not an absence of storms, but the ability to navigate through them with grace. Feeling a renewed sense of purpose, Anaya took a deep breath, letting her heart fill with gratitude for the guidance offered by Master Samadhi. This journey would indeed be challenging, but she felt a sense of empowerment blossoming within, the acknowledgement that the storm was hers to embrace, and within it lay the key to her own transformation. Here, beneath the sky painted in the soft hues of dusk, she was ready to begin rewriting her narrative, to learn the art of weaving peace into her existence amid the chaos of her thoughts. And so, Anaya began to unravel the threads of her anxiety, carefully examining the fears that had haunted her for so long. With each session spent in the tranquil presence of Master Samadhi, she found the courage to vocalize the burdens she carried, the weight that had pressed down on her shoulders like an unwelcome cloak. She spoke of the pressure to uphold her family's weaving tradition, the mantle of expectation that felt both heavy and suffocating. The fear of failure loomed large, casting shadows over her heart and mind, while the constant striving for perfection left her exhausted and empty, drained of the joy that weaving had once brought her. Each word she articulated felt like a stone lifted from her chest, revealing the rawness of her struggles. Master Samadhi listened patiently, his presence a calming anchor in the turbulent sea of her emotions. He did not interrupt her flow of thoughts. Instead, he offered the gift of his attentive silence, allowing her to explore the depths of her feelings without judgment. His demeanor exuded warmth and understanding, and as Anaya spoke, she felt as if she were laying bare not only her struggles, but also the first petals of hope beginning to unfurl within her. Over the next few days, Master Samadhi shared his teachings, guiding Anaya with a steady hand. He didn't offer quick fixes or easy answers, as many had done in her life before. Instead, he imparted wisdom grounded in a profound understanding of the human experience, crafting a path for her that was deliberate and intentional. He opened her heart and mind to the idea that the journey toward peace was one of self-discovery and acceptance, rather than a destination to be reached. He taught her the practice of mindful breathing, emphasizing the importance of observing the rise and fall of her breath without judgment. "In your breath, you will find your center," he said gently, his voice lulling her into a state of reflection. Anaya practiced daily, sitting cross-legged on the temple floor, closing her eyes and allowing herself to tune in to the rhythm of her inhalations and exhalations. With each breath, she felt herself growing more grounded, less entwined with the storm of thoughts that had once engulfed her. This practice became a sanctuary, a wondrous source of calm that she could access at any moment, no matter how turbulent her mind might feel. In addition to mindfulness, Master Samadhi introduced her to the art of calligraphy, a beautiful and expressive form of writing that allowed her to transform her worries into flowing characters on scrolls. Encouraged by him, Anaya began to embody her fears, pouring her anxieties onto the paper in ink and brush strokes, releasing them into the wind with each word she lovingly crafted. As the ink seeped into the parchment, she felt a lightness take hold of her, a gentle release of the burdens that had once felt too heavy to bear. It was through this creative outlet that she learned the importance of expression, transforming the chaos within into something tangible, visible, and ultimately liberating. Master Samadhi further encouraged her to find mindfulness in everyday tasks, illuminating the mundane with the light of presence and awareness. From weaving to sweeping the temple courtyard, Anaya learned to transform each chore into a meditative practice, infusing her actions with intention and focus. She explored the textures of the wool she worked with, the rhythmic motion of her hands dancing with the loom, allowing her creativity to flourish. Each sweep of the broom became a gentle reminder of her ability to clear away the clutter in her mind, both physically and metaphorically. Throughout her time at the temple, Anaya began to notice how these practices influenced her overall sense of self. As she embraced the teachings of Master Samadhi, she felt the storm within her shifting. The fear that had previously felt paralyzing began to reshape itself, becoming something she could acknowledge rather than dismiss. She started to recognize that the pressure she put upon herself to be perfect was a flawed expectation, a self-imposed limit that did not define her worth. With each passing day, her understanding deepened. She learned that it was okay to falter, that imperfection was part of being human. In fact, it was through these very imperfections that she could discover her unique voice, her own style, and her own beautiful tapestry of life. As the days turned into weeks, Anaya began to cultivate an inner landscape filled with acceptance and grace. The path ahead remained riddled with uncertainties, but she now possessed the tools to navigate through her own storm. Master Samadhi's teachings became a part of her, weaving into the very fabric of her being, granting her the strength she had longed for and the clarity to embrace the journey ahead. The moments she spent with him, absorbed in dialogue and practice, became the gentle rhythm of her days, the heartbeat of the newfound peace she was beginning to cultivate. One of the most profound lessons came during a fierce mountain storm. The day had begun with a deceptive stillness, but soon the sky darkened and the air grew thick with anticipation. As thunder echoed through the valley and the first heavy raindrops began to fall, a chorus of nature's fury erupted. Anaya could feel her anxiety surge within her, mirroring the tempest outside as flashes of lightning illuminated the temple's stone walls, momentarily washing the world in brilliant white light. Shadows danced erratically like restless spirits, intensifying the storm that raged not only in the skies but also in her heart. Amidst the chaos, Master Samadhi remained a steadfast presence. With an unhurried grace, he approached her, his saffron robes billowing slightly in the wind. "Come, Anaya," he encouraged, his voice steady and calm as the storm gathered strength. "Let us go to the courtyard." Trepidation flickered within Anaya, but the resolve she had cultivated over the past weeks guided her forward. As they stepped out into the open, the power of the elements enveloped her. The wind whipped around them, fierce and relentless, while the rain poured down in torrents, each droplet colliding against her skin like the weight of her unacknowledged worries. She gasped as the cold water drenched her, chilling yet invigorating, a reminder that she was alive. In the heart of the storm, Master Samadhi turned to her, his eyes sparkling with wisdom and invitation. "Feel the wind," he instructed, raising his arms to embrace the tempest around them. Anaya felt a momentary hesitation as fear surged within her once more, but she reminded herself of his teachings. This storm, both inside and outside, was not an enemy. "Hear the thunder," he continued, the deep rumble reverberating through the very ground beneath her feet. "Let the rain wash over you. This, Anaya, is the storm within you. Don't resist it. Embrace it." With each word, she felt drawn deeper into the experience. The winds screamed with raw power, and she closed her eyes, allowing herself to feel the tumultuous force around her. Mindful of his instructions, she began to breathe, slowly in, then out, finding her center amidst the wild chaos that threatened to unbalance her. The storm was a reminder of her own turbulent emotions, a reflection of her inner struggles, the fear, the anxiety, the relentless pursuit of perfection. As droplets of rain cascaded over her skin, Anaya opened her heart to the sensations, no longer seeking to retreat from the overwhelming feelings. Instead, she stood tall, letting the water mingle with her tears, embracing the discomfort and chaos. She felt the electricity of the storm, a metaphor for the storm raging inside her mind. Yet here, In the heart of it, she also felt a sense of freedom beginning to unfurl, a liberation from the chains of her own design. "Let go of the need to control the storm," Master Samadhi urged, his voice audible even amid the roaring winds. "Instead, let it show you how to navigate the waves of your existence. Each bolt of lightning illuminates the darkness, revealing the path ahead. Allow your fears to surface, acknowledge them, but do not let them drown you." His words resonated within her like a clarion call, prompting her to confront her anxieties head-on. She had always viewed her feelings as obstacles, impediments to her pursuit of peace. But standing in the rain, surrounded by the storm, Anaya realized she could choose how to respond. Rather than succumbing to her fears, she could acknowledge them as part of her journey, a natural phenomenon that ebbed and flowed like the very weather that now enveloped her. With this newfound understanding, Anaya opened herself fully to the experience. The wind knocked against her body, the rain drumming a wild rhythm on her skin, awakening her senses. She began to feel lighter, as if the storm was not just an external event, but had become an internal dance, a kaleidoscope of emotions swirling together. In that moment, she acknowledged the fears that often clouded her mind. The fear of disappointing her family, the fear of failing to uphold the weaving legacy, the fear of not being enough. Each of these was a thread woven into the fabric of her life. And just like that, the storm transformed before her eyes, from a chaotic force into an intricate tapestry, a tapestry that spoke of struggle and resilience, of growth and acceptance. The roaring winds and crashing thunder became an anthem of her awakening, resonating within her spirit. When the downpour began to ease and the storm's fury subsided to a gentle patter against the stones, she opened her eyes, blinking away the raindrops and allowing her surroundings to come into focus. The world around her had shifted. The temple stood proud against the backdrop of a grey sky, while the valley below began to glisten anew with the freshness brought by the rain. In that moment, Anaya felt a deep connection to both the storm outside and the storm within. She was ready to journey forward, not in the absence of challenges, but as someone who had learned to dance amid the chaos. Standing next to Master Samadhi, drenched but alive, she felt a radiant energy surging within her, igniting the path toward acceptance. "Thank you, Master," she said, her voice filled with newfound conviction. "I see now that embracing my storm is part of embracing myself." Master Samadhi nodded, a look of pride shining in his eyes. "Indeed, Anaya. Remember, you can weather the fiercest storm if you do not resist its presence. You are strong, resilient, and capable. Continue to nurture that strength within you as you move forward." With that affirmation echoing in her heart, Anaya felt transformed. The path ahead still held uncertainty, but within her, a profound sense of peace began to take root, ready to bloom and thrive amidst whatever storms may come her way. As the rain soaked her clothes and the wind whipped her hair around her face, Anaya felt a strange sense of liberation swell within her. Each raindrop seemed to carry away fragments of her burdens, washing them clean from her spirit. She realized that she was not separate from the storm. She was a part of it, intricately woven into the fabric of nature's display. The tempest around her mirrored the tumult within, yet at that moment she recognized a profound truth. Just as the storm would eventually pass, so too would the turbulent emotions that had plagued her for so long. This understanding filled her heart with courage, a newfound acceptance of both the chaos and the calm. With the storm behind her and a clearer sky emerging, Anaya slowly began to integrate Master Samadhi's teachings into her daily life. What had once been a source of anxiety transformed before her eyes. The Loom, her cherished yet intimidating tool, could become a catalyst for mindfulness. Each rhythmic clack of the loom's mechanism echoed the soothing sound of her breath, creating a meditative atmosphere she could dwell in. As her hands moved skillfully among the colorful threads, she discovered that weaving was more than a craft. It became a practice of presence, each intricate pattern emerging like a reflection of the intricate patterns of her own mind. The loom was no longer an unyielding juggernaut demanding perfection. Instead, it became a sanctuary, a canvas on which to explore her thoughts and emotions. Under Master Samadhi's guidance, Anaya allowed herself to breathe life into her weaving. One day, while focused intently on her work, she began to visualize her feelings as vibrant threads streaming into the tapestry. The reds symbolized her passion and joy, the blues her calmness, and the blacks represented her fears. Weaving them together felt like creating a harmonious balance, a reminder that it was the coexistence of these emotions that made her whole. With each weaving session, she encountered moments of stillness, where clarity blossomed amid the ebb and flow of her thoughts. What once caused her distress became a pathway to understanding. One day, Master Samadhi led her to a hidden chamber within the temple, a place she had never seen before. As they stepped inside, the air felt charged with energy, a sacred space that seemed to pulse with wisdom. In the center of the chamber stood a large, ornate mirror, its surface intricately decorated with symbols and patterns reminiscent of the very tapestry Anaya had been weaving. The mirror gleamed softly, inviting and mysterious, as if it held within it the reflections of not only the physical world, but also the deeper truths and insights hidden within herself. "Look within, Anaya," Master Samadhi encouraged, gesturing toward the mirror. "This mirror reflects not only your outer self, but also the inner landscape of your heart and mind. It is a tool for understanding, one that allows you to confront the fears, the doubts, and the storms that dwell within." Anaya approached the mirror slowly, her heart pounding with anticipation. As she stood before it, she took a deep breath, feeling the weight of all her experiences, her fears, hopes, struggles, as they surged to the surface. The first reflection she saw was of her exterior, a young woman with windswept hair, rain-soaked clothes, and bright, searching eyes. But as she focused, the image began to shimmer, transforming into a swirling tapestry of colors and shapes, a vivid representation of her emotional landscape. "What do you see, Anaya?" Master Samadhi's calm voice drew her back to the present, prompting her to delve deeper into her internal reflections. "I see a storm," she began hesitantly, her eyes widening as she beheld the swirling patterns, a chaos of colors, tangled threads, and dark shadows mixed with bright light. Her voice quivered, touched by vulnerability. It was exhilarating yet terrifying to confront such a tumultuous depiction of her inner world. "Yes," Master Samadhi acknowledged, nodding with understanding. "This storm you see, embrace it. Each color, each shape tells a story. It reflects the beauty of your journey and the fullness of your experiences. It is essential that you acknowledge this storm, for within it lies not only chaos, but also the potential for transformation." Anaya felt an urge to reach out, to touch the mirror and connect with the vibrant chaos before her. As her fingers brushed against the cool surface, the colors glowed brighter, illuminating the stories woven into her emotional tapestry. Each dark shadow represented an anxiety, a fear, but amid those shadows were brilliant threads of hope and joy that glittered like stars, reminding her that light existed even in the darkest of times. "I see now that the storm is not the enemy," she murmured, revelations dawning in waves. "It is part of who I am, a source of strength and resilience." Master Samadhi stepped beside her, his presence a comforting reassurance. "Exactly, Anaya. The storm is a teacher. It guides you toward understanding, shaping your awareness and wisdom. The key lies in your willingness to confront it, to look deeper into your reflections, and to accept every thread as integral to your being. In that moment, Anaya felt a weight lift from her shoulders as she embraced the truth of her journey. The tumultuous storm had not vanished, nor had she expected it to, but now she understood that within the intricacies of her emotions lay the foundation of a beautiful tapestry, one that told the story of her growth and transformation. With renewed clarity, she turned back to Master Samadhi, her heart filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Master. I'm beginning to embrace my storm, and I see the beauty in the chaos. I feel more prepared to weave my life into something harmonious." He smiled, a gentle nod punctuating his encouragement. "Remember, Anaya, each day is an opportunity to discover and cultivate peace within. Continue to reflect, to create, and to embrace the storms you find within. In doing so, you will find the harmony you seek." As Anaya stepped back from the mirror and rejoined the present moment, a new journey awaited her, one where she would transform her experiences into a living tapestry woven with threads of acceptance, courage, and grace. "This, Anaya," he said, pointing toward the exquisite surface of the mirror, "is the mirror of karma. It reflects not just your outward appearance, but the essence of your being, your spirit, your thoughts, your actions, and the impact of those actions on the world around you. It reveals the seeds you have sown throughout your life, both in joy and in sorrow." Anaya's heart began to race, fear gripping her like a vice. She suddenly felt overwhelmed by the thought of gazing into the mirror. What truths might it reveal? What painful memories and regrets might confront her in this candid reflection? She had come so far in her journey to acceptance, but the prospect of facing the totality of her existence, both shadows and light, sent a shiver of apprehension through her. After a moment's hesitation, she glanced at Master Samadhi, whose presence radiated a comforting energy. His eyes were filled with encouragement, a gentle reassurance that melted the ice of her fear. "There is nothing to fear, Anaya. The mirror will show you not only what weighs you down, but also the beauty you carry within. It is a tool for growth, a means to understand where you have been in order to chart the path forward." With his gentle prompting, she felt a beckoning deep within her. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Anaya approached the mirror of karma, her heart beating steadily against her chest. The ornate patterns that adorned the frame seemed to swirl with energy, echoing the intertwining threads of her life story. She steeled her resolve, culminating in a breath that filled her with both courage and intention. As she stood before the mirror, Anaya felt its surface draw her in, an ethereal light glowing softly as images began to form. At first, her reflection looked like herself, rain-soaked and windswept, yet determined and alive. But the mirror's magic soon revealed more. As she gazed deeper, the surface shimmered, showing a vivid tapestry of her past. Memories flickered into view, unfolding like living images within the glass. She saw scenes of her childhood, moments filled with laughter and warmth, her mother guiding her hands as they wove intricate patterns together. She remembered the feeling of joy in creating something beautiful, the intimacy of each thread woven with love. But then the scenes shifted and cold shadows crept in, a series of moments where self-doubt clouded her spirit. Images of her struggles emerged, the heavy weight of expectations, the pressure to excel that had driven her to exhaustion, and the loneliness that accompanied her pursuit of perfection. Anaya felt an ache in her heart as these memories washed over her, tinged with regret and loss. Yet within that pain lay the seeds she had sown, the moments of resilience, her courage to confront her fears, and the compassion she had shown to others, even when she found it hard to extend that same kindness to herself. She saw the disputes she had overcome, the empathy she had cultivated for those who shared similar burdens, and her gradual reconnection to the joys of weaving. As the images swirled and shifted, Anaya began to realize that every experience had played a role in shaping her current self. Tears gathered in her eyes, not out of sorrow, but from the overwhelming recognition of her journey, the intricate tapestry of joys and hardships that made her human. Master Samadhi's voice floated through the air, steady and guiding. "What do you see, Anaya? What truths does the mirror unveil?" Swallowing her emotions, she replied, I see my struggles, my fears, and my mistakes. But I also see moments of beauty and connection, strength and kindness. It's as if the mirror is showing me that my journey is one of growth, colored by every experience, both light and dark. Indeed, he affirmed, his tone filled with warmth, to understand your karma is to comprehend the full spectrum of your life, the intertwined threads of your actions and their ripples in the world. Every choice creates a consequence, every action a reflection in the vast tapestry of existence. What is essential is to recognize that transformation comes through awareness, acceptance, and the intention to grow. Taking a deep breath, Anaya allowed this wisdom to sink in. She understood now that the storm inside her was not to be feared or hidden. It was a part of her journey, a teacher guiding her toward becoming a more authentic version of herself. The seeds of doubt, though they had once held her captive, could also lead to the blooming of compassion and understanding when tended to with care. I am ready to face my karma, she spoke firmly, feeling the weight of her past become lighter. I want to nurture the seeds I have sown and grow toward healing and acceptance. Master Samadhi smiled, clearly pleased. That is the spirit, Anaya. Embrace the journey of self-discovery and remain committed to sowing seeds of kindness, love, and awareness. The mirror will serve as a guiding light, illuminating both your path and those around you. With a renewed sense of purpose, she stepped back from the mirror, her heart brimming with gratitude for the insights she had gained. The journey to inner peace was not about erasing her past or denying her struggles, but understanding and integrating them into the beautiful tapestry she was still weaving. As Anaya looked back at the shimmering surface of the mirror of karma, one last time, she smiled, feeling empowered to step boldly into the next chapter of her life, prepared to nurture every thread of her existence with intention and love. What she saw surprised her. It wasn't a monstrous reflection as she had feared, but rather a series of images, fleeting glimpses of moments from her past. Each image flickered to life within the mirror of karma, a kaleidoscope of experiences laid bare for her to witness. She saw herself snapping at her sister in anger, her voice sharp and hurtful, a fleeting moment that had cast a long shadow on their bond. Then the scene shifted, revealing her turning away from a villager's plea for help, the urgency in their eyes lost in the chaos of her own thoughts. The reflections continued, showing her times she allowed fear to paralyze her, hesitation chaining her to inaction when her heart urged her otherwise. Yet these images were not presented to condemn her. They flowed like a river, gentle and revealing, designed to show her the impact of her actions, the ripples they created in the world around her. There was no judgment in the mirror, only a profound invitation to understand. Anaya took this in, her heart heavy yet illuminated by the clarity of each moment replayed before her. She wept, but not from shame. Her tears fell freely, an outpouring of deep understanding that washed over her. They were tears for the moments she wished she could change, for the times she missed connecting with others, for the opportunities to extend love, compassion, and kindness that had slipped through her fingers. But as the images played in her mind, she also felt a swell of compassion toward herself, a recognition that these experiences were part of being human, part of the intricate web of life that connected her with all beings. With each teardrop, she sensed a release, a letting go of the guilt and regret that had burdened her heart for too long. Master Samadhi remained at her side, a steady presence as she processed this wave of emotion, offering a quiet sense of grounding amid her tears. "This is part of your journey, Anaya," he said softly. "To see these moments with eyes of understanding is to honor both the mistakes and the growth they have birthed. The key lies not in dwelling on what you cannot change, but in learning and evolving from it." Embracing his words, Anaya took a shaky breath, feeling the warmth of forgiveness begin to bloom in her chest. It was time to transform these moments into lessons. With Master Samadhi's guidance, she began the process of forgiveness, first of others, allowing her heart to soften toward those she had hurt or failed to support. She envisioned herself approaching her sister, extending an olive branch and embracing her with love, bridging the gap that had once felt insurmountable. In her mind's eye, she saw the villagers, their faces reflecting both disappointment and hope, as she vowed to listen more, to respond more empathetically in the future. But the most profound act of forgiveness came when she turned inward, ready to confront the accumulation of negative self-talk that had held her captive. "I must forgive myself," she whispered to the stillness of the temple chamber, the enormity of that statement echoing in her thoughts, "for the moments of anger, for the fear that paralyzed me, for the expectations that I placed upon myself." As she spoke the words, a wave of warmth began to envelop her. The kind of warmth that comes from knowing that every person is flawed, yet capable of change. Anaya understood that she had the power to cycle through sorrow and emerge with greater compassion, both for herself and for those around her. She was learning that mistakes were not the antithesis of growth. They were integral threads in her tapestry, opportunities for enlightenment and self-discovery. With this revelation, she surrendered the weight of her past to the winds of forgiveness. The dark moments she had seen in the mirror of karma began to transform into stepping stones, leading toward greater awareness and empathy. Each tear she shed reclaimed a part of her that had long been buried under judgment and fear, allowing her to rise anew with an open and softened heart. Master Samadhi watched, quietly but intently, as Anaya engaged in this profound transformation. The storm outside had long since passed, leaving only a lingering silence filled with the scent of fresh rain and possibility. "You are learning the art of compassion, Anaya. By forgiving yourself, you make space for love to blossom in your heart and extend that love to others. This is how we heal and grow, by acknowledging both our flaws and our strength." Anaya nodded, gratitude swelling within her as she felt the gentle warmth of peace wash over her like a soothing balm. "Thank you, Master," she replied, her voice steady now. "I am beginning to realize that true strength lies in vulnerability and forgiveness, not in striving for an unattainable perfection." "Precisely," he affirmed, a smile gracing his lips. "Embrace this newfound wisdom, for it will guide you on the journey ahead. Remember, Anaya, the storm may return, but within you lies the resilience to navigate it." As the light of the setting sun filtered through the temple's windows, Anaya felt a profound sense of closure, and yet a thrilling anticipation for what lay ahead. She understood that her journey was an evolving tapestry, rich with colors and patterns, woven from both shadows and light. Armed with the knowledge of interconnectedness, forgiveness, and empathy, she was ready to embrace her path with bravery, knowing that every step, storm or not, was part of her beautiful becoming. The peace Anaya found at the temple was soon tested with the arrival of troubling news. It came carried on the winds of anxious whispers, word of a severe drought plaguing her village, a devastating circumstance that had turned the once thriving fields to dust. The river that sustained their crops and livelihoods had dwindled to a mere trickle, leaving the villagers in a state of fear and desperation. Images of her family and friends flooded Anaya'S mind, their faces marred by worry, their spirits dampened by the harsh reality they faced. Despite the tranquility she had cultivated within, a strong pull urged her to return, an echoing sense of responsibility toward her community. Master Samadhi noticed the change in her demeanor, his compassionate gaze reading the turmoil brewing beneath her composed exterior. "Go, Anaya," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. "The lessons you have learned here are not meant to be kept within these walls. Share them with your people. Be the calm in the storm." His words resonated deeply within her, igniting a fire of purpose that had been smoldering since she had first heard of the drought. Anaya felt a surge of gratitude for the peace and understanding she had found during her time at the temple, a gift she now recognized as a tool she must wield for the greater good. "I will return," she replied, her voice resolute, a newfound determination echoing in her heart. "I must bring hope and strength to my village when they are at their most vulnerable." As she prepared to leave the temple, Anaya gathered her belongings, each item now imbued with the lessons learned and the love shared with Master Samadhi. The loom would accompany her, a reminder that she could weave strength and resilience into her community as her family had woven for generations. Her mind swirled with thoughts of how to help, ways to comfort her people while sustaining their traditions during this challenging time. The journey back was filled with anticipation and unease. The mountain path felt both familiar and foreign, each step a testimony to the transformation she had undergone. The landscape had shifted during her absence. The vibrant green of the valley gave way to muted browns, and the air felt heavy with the weight of desperate silence. As she descended through the forest and emerged into the open expanse of her village, Anaya was struck by the sight of parched fields stretching out before her, the once luscious crops wilting under the unforgiving sun. The river, once a symbol of life and abundance, now resembled a frail vein, struggling to sustain the land it nourished. Upon entering the village, she was met with somber faces reflecting the despair that coursed through the community. Whispers of hopelessness floated through the air as people gathered, their expressions mirroring the dryness of the land. Anaya'S heart clenched, but she stood tall, feeling the presence of Master Samadhi's teachings within her. She had come not just to witness their suffering, but to offer guidance and the lessons she'd learned during the storm of her own making. "Brothers and sisters," she began, her voice rising above the murmurs, steady yet warm. "I have traveled from the temple and returned to you, for I will not, remain absent when you need hope the most. We face a daunting challenge, but we are not powerless. Together we can weather this storm." Her words infused life into the gathering. A ripple of curiosity sparked in the faces of the villagers, drawing them closer. "The drought we face is real, and the fear it creates is valid. But in times of uncertainty, we must remember that we have the strength to adapt and learn," she continued, channeling the calm she had found at the temple. "During my journey, I discovered that the storms within us can serve as teachers. It's time for us to acknowledge our fears, to gather and to draw on our collective wisdom." Anaya shared the methods she had learned from Master Samadhi: mindful breathing to remain grounded, the empowerment of community, the art of expression, and proposed communal gatherings where they could weave their intentions and hopes together, much like the threads on her loom. Let us share stories, cultivate resilience, and create a plan to conserve our water resources and support one another in this time of need. The villagers began to nod, their expressions shifting from despair to intrigue. With each word, Anaya felt the warmth of connection rekindle among her community, the collective spirit igniting hope in their hearts. They had weathered challenges before. They had the power to face this one too. The tales of resilience shared by the elders, the love threaded into each garden tended, all became manifestations of their capacity to navigate adversity. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a golden hue upon the village, Anaya softly asked, "Will you join me? Together, we can weave strength back into our community, honor the land that nurtures us, and above all, embrace the interconnectedness that binds us as one." And under the vast open sky, no longer a solitary figure but a beacon of hope, Anaya felt the threads of her spirit begin to intertwine with those of her villagers, each voice participating in a beautiful collective tapestry designed to weather any storm that lay ahead. Returning to the village, Anaya found a scene of despair that struck deep in her heart. The once vibrant market, usually bustling with life, was deserted. The colourful stalls that had once overflowed with fruits and woven goods now stood empty, their wares untouched. The air, which should have been filled with the cheerful laughter and playful banter of children, was thick with anxious whispers that seemed to echo the worry pervading the community. The shadows of uncertainty loomed over the village, casting a pallor over the familiar landscape she had once cherished. Her heart raced as she navigated the narrow paths lined with homes that looked worn and weary. When she finally reached her own home, her family greeted her with a mixture of relief and worry etched into their faces. Their eyes, filled with concern, spoke the unvoiced fears they had harbored in her absence. "Anaya, you're back!" her mother exclaimed, embracing her tightly. "We feared the worst when news of the drought came. We're thankful you've returned safely." But the warmth of the reunion was quickly overshadowed by the stark reality outside. Anaya could feel the weight of her family's hopes resting upon her shoulders, and the sight of her beloved community suffering ignited a fierce determination within her. She knew she couldn't stand idly by while those she loved faced such dire circumstances. Memories of Master Samadhi's teachings echoed in her mind, reminding her, "Be the calm in the storm." It was time to embrace that role, to step into the light of leadership forged through her journey of self-discovery. Gathering her thoughts, Anaya sought out the villagers who still lingered near the edges of their homes, their faces etched with worry and resignation. She took a deep breath, drawing on the peace she had cultivated during her time at the temple. Anaya stood before them, feeling the pulse of anxiety vibrating in the air, and she began to speak. "My friends, my family," she called out, her voice clear and strong, resonating with the newfound peace she had discovered within herself. "I have witnessed the strength of our community, and I know the hardship we face is fearsome. But let me remind you of the power that lies within us." A few villagers turned their gaze toward her, and she encouraged them to draw closer, her heart racing with the hope that her words might spark a flicker of resilience. "The drought is a reality we cannot ignore, but we are not without options. We have each other, and together we can weather this storm. We are interconnected, bound by the strength of our unity. We must come together now, as friends and neighbors, to face this challenge head-on." In the supportive silence that followed, she continued, feeling the energy shift around her. "Let us gather our knowledge and resources, share our skills, and come up with a plan. We can conserve water, organize community efforts to support those who are struggling, and perhaps even create a communal garden to nurture crops more efficiently. We have navigated hard times before, and I believe we can emerge from this with compassion and resilience." As her voice resonated with sincerity, Anaya noticed a subtle change in her audience. Some villagers began to nod, a glimmer of fire igniting in their eyes. "When I was away, I found the strength to embrace my fears and confront my storm," she said, her heart swelling with every word. "If I can do that, then we can do this together. Our community is a tapestry of resilience woven from our shared experiences and sacrifices." The murmurs of hopelessness shifted, replaced by a sense of determination. Anaya saw her father step forward, someone who had always been a pillar of strength in her life. "You're right, Anaya," he said, his voice gruff but filled with warmth. "We are strong not because of individual successes, but because of our unity. If we work together, we can weather this drought." Encouraged by her father's words, other villagers began to join in, sharing their own ideas and strategies born from their deep connection to the land. Laughter, which had been so scarce just moments before, began to seep into their discussions, a sound so precious it felt like a breath of fresh air. Anaya'S heart soared as inspiration pulsed through the group. United by their shared hope, they began to formulate ideas and plans, a community meeting for sharing resources, skills in irrigation, and storytelling sessions to bolster the spirits of the children. With each suggestion, the threads of their lives intertwined, creating a tapestry of strength and support that shimmered in the dim light of uncertainty. As the sun began to set and cast a warm glow over the village, Anaya felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the role she could play in her community's recovery. With newfound purpose fueling her spirit, she knew they could cultivate hope even in the harshest of environments. "You've all shown so much strength today," Anaya declared, her voice rising above the soft sounds of evening. "Let's remember that we are stronger together, and I promise I will do everything I can to help us through this time." Under the scattered stars that began to twinkle overhead, their resilience blossomed, and with Anaya'S leadership, the village took its first crucial steps toward recovering hope amid hardship. The journey ahead would be challenging, but together they would weave a brighter future, one rooted in unity, courage, and the shared belief that no storm could extinguish their spirit. Anaya shared the practices she had learned during her time with Master Samadhi: mindful breathing, the art of finding calmness in everyday tasks, and the profound importance of community support. She spoke passionately about the power of mindfulness, teaching her fellow villagers that they could find stillness in their hearts, even amid chaos. "I don't have magical solutions to the drought," she said earnestly, her gaze sweeping over the assembled crowd. "But what I offer is something more profound, a way to face your fears, to find strength within yourselves, and to unite as a community in the face of adversity." Initially, her words met with skepticism. She could see it in the furrowed brows and folded arms of some villagers, the doubt heavy in the air. "What does a girl from the mountains know about our struggles?" murmured one man near the back, dismissing her effort with a scoff. "We need real solutions, not breathing exercises." But then she noticed others in the crowd, those with tired eyes and weary hearts, leaning closer, desperate for any glimmer of hope. They began to nod, exchanging furtive glances that signaled an openness to Anaya'S ideas. "If there's even a chance this could help," whispered a woman at the front, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "We owe it to ourselves to try." With a sense of urgency, Anaya focused on those who were listening. She demonstrated the mindful breathing exercises she had practiced at the temple, encouraging them to place their hands over their hearts and take deep, deliberate breaths. "Feel the air fill your lungs," she instructed, her own breathing a calming rhythm that seemed to envelop the group. "Let the worry fall away with each exhale. Inhale strength, exhale fear." As they followed her lead, she processed the initial skepticism morphing into quiet participation. She watched as some villagers subtly relaxed their shoulders and softened their expressions, breathing in the shared atmosphere of hope and solidarity. With each cycle of breath, Anaya could sense a shift, a movement toward greater connection, less isolation. "Now let's take this practice into our daily lives," she proposed, her voice warm and inviting. "We each have skills, talents, and resources. Let's come together, support one another, and share what we have." Her call resonated with a sense of urgency. They could still tend to their fields, even if the crops were struggling. They could help each other maintain their homes, safeguard what little water they had, and share food more equitably among themselves. Slowly, the villagers began to open up, sharing their ideas for supporting one another. They organized small groups to monitor and conserve water resources, and they took turns watching over the community gardens, determined to nurture any crops that might still have life. They helped each other repair fences and roofs, re-establishing connections that had frayed under the weight of the drought. As Anaya witnessed the villagers setting aside their initial skepticism, her heart began to swell with pride. The strength of the community was profound. There was power in unity and collective purpose. By practicing mindful breathing together, they discovered not just a momentary respite from their anxieties, but an avenue for communication and connection. Each exhale releasing fear, each inhale drawing in hope. Days passed, and while the drought remained, the sense of despair began to lift. The villagers found camaraderie in their newfound practices, and more importantly, in the act of sharing their burdens. Children joined in the efforts, filling watering cans and helping clear weeds from the garden plots. Slowly but surely, laughter began to seep back into their daily lives. Anaya spearheaded storytelling nights around the village, where neighbors would gather to share their experiences, both past and present. Those nights became a cherished ritual, fostering hope and resilience. They would weave tales of their ancestors who had triumphed through hardships, reminding one another that they were part of a lineage of strength. Yet, amid these positive shifts, Anaya recognized that skepticism still lingered for some. A part of the community remained wary, clinging to resignation. But she remembered Master Samadhi's teachings. Change often takes time, and true transformation begins within. So, while she remained patient and devoted to fostering unity, she also turned inward, contemplating her role in this ongoing journey. One evening, as the soft hues of sunset bathed the village in golden light, Anaya gathered the villagers once more. "I want to remind you all," she addressed the crowd, "that while we may still face challenges, we are moving forward together. Let us continue to support one another, finding strength in our connections. Remember the power of our shared breath, the comfort we offer one another. In these collective efforts, we can cultivate resilience no matter how long this drought endures." Anaya looked around at the faces of her friends and neighbors, each one reflecting a tapestry of stories and experiences. She felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. They were creating a foundation upon which they could build anew. With that thought in her heart, she breathed in deeply, knowing that even amid uncertainty, the bond they were forging would prove essential. United, they would find a way forward, together, as a community woven strong by the threads of compassion, courage, and hope. Anaya, inspired by the lessons she had learned at the Loom, conceived an idea to further unify her community during the trying times they faced. She proposed a new project, a collaborative weaving endeavor that would bind them together in purpose and hope. Instead of creating individual tapestries, they would weave a single, large tapestry, a symbol of their unity and resilience amid adversity. The idea of a communal creation ignited a spark of excitement among the villagers. It represented not just artistry, but a tangible way to come together and channel their collective energy into something positive. Gathering everyone for a meeting, Anaya articulated her vision. "We've all faced so much in these past weeks. Fear, uncertainty, despair. But we are stronger together. Let us weave a tapestry that tells our story, a testament to our resilience. Every thread we add will represent our hopes, our dreams, and our collective strength. It will be a legacy of this time, something beautiful that we can look back on and see how we overcame." The villagers, eager for a shared purpose, responded with enthusiasm. "What colors should we use?" one woman asked, her eyes lighting up with inspiration. Another elder suggested, "Let's incorporate symbols that represent our values, such as unity and compassion." Ideas flowed freely, creating an electric atmosphere enriched with creativity and a sense of camaraderie. Once the plan was set into motion, they transformed a corner of the communal space into a makeshift weaving area. Anaya helped set up several looms, adjusted for the collective project, and demonstrated the basics of weaving for those who were new to the craft. The rhythmic movement of the looms, the sound of threads being pulled, offered a comforting sense of familiarity that punctuated their work. The air buzzed with chatter and laughter, the earlier heaviness of despair giving way to a renewed lightness. As they worked together, a sense of community began to rebuild. The shared activity fostered connection, and with every pass of the utensils, they wove not just fabric, but stories, a narrative that celebrated their collective journey up to this point. Each villager contributed by sharing their individual experiences, using colors and symbols that represented their own hopes and dreams. Bright reds and yellows blossomed beside deeper blues and greens as the tapestry began to take form, a vivid expression of their shared resilience. Sitting side by side with her neighbors, Anaya felt the weight of each individual's struggle no longer a burden, but a shared thread laced through their collective spirit. They were no longer isolated souls battling their fears alone. They were a vibrant collective, weaving their hopes and dreams into a shared future. As they worked, they laughed, cried, and celebrated small victories together, each row of weaving a testament to their ability to rise above hardship. On days when doubts lingered, Anaya would guide them through moments of mindful breathing, reminding them to embrace their emotions without judgment. "Every thread we weave carries a piece of our story," she would say, fostering a space for acknowledgement and resilience. The looms didn't just produce fabric, they served as instruments for healing, and with each pass of the shuttle, Anaya and the villagers grounded their fears in the tangible act of creation. As the weeks passed, the tapestry grew larger, its intricate patterns flourishing like the community itself. Local children ran about, helping their parents and grandparents, adding splashes of their own creativity to the project. This was no longer merely a weaving project, it was a communal bond uniting generations, a shared endeavor that provided a glimmer of hope in the midst of their ongoing struggle against the drought. One afternoon, as Anaya stepped back to admire the tapestry amidst the laughter and chatter, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment and belonging. The tapestry was not just a collection of individual threads, it was a vibrant manifestation of resilience, love, and unity. It served as a reminder that even in adversity, they could find strength together, that beauty could emerge from their struggles. Anaya marveled at how far they had come, how the darkness of despair had shifted to the light of hope. She knew that the story they were weaving together would not only be a legacy of their endurance during the drought, but also a beacon of the power of community and the transformative nature of shared experiences. With every stitch, her village was writing a new narrative, a testimony of their journey that would stand as a testament to their unity through storm and strife. As the tapestry neared completion, Anaya understood that its true beauty lay beyond its woven form. It was in the hearts of those who had come together, forged by the trials they'd faced as one family, one community, rising resilient against the odds. Then one morning, after weeks of relentless sun that had baked the earth and left her village in a parched silence, a single cloud appeared on the horizon. It drifted lazily at first, a dark shape against the bright blue sky, but as the minutes passed, it grew denser and darker, swelling with promise. Anaya stood with the villagers, her heart racing with anticipation as the atmosphere shifted. a prickling energy in the air, signaling that change was imminent. Suddenly, the first drops of rain began to fall, tentative at first, then transforming into a steady downpour that soaked the earth, evoking jubilant cheers from the villagers. Laughter and shouts of joy echoed through the valley, harmonizing with the rhythmic drumming of rain against roofs and the thirsty ground. The drought was broken, the long-awaited gift from the heavens cascading down like blessings, restoring life to their land. Anaya felt a wave of emotions swell within her. Relief, joy, and gratitude intermingled as she watched the villagers revel in the moment. They danced in the rain, their spirits lifted, embracing the wetness that nourished them. Children squealed with delight, their laughter ringing through the air as they splashed in puddles, a vibrant reminder of life's resilience. But as she joined in the celebration, Anaya also felt a deeper understanding take root in her heart. She knew that the rain wasn't just a miracle or a mere stroke of luck. It was a manifestation of their collective efforts, their unwavering resilience, and the bonds they had forged during the troubling times. Their shared commitment to support one another in the face of adversity had nurtured the seeds of hope, allowing them to weather the storm together. Moreover, the teachings of Master Samadhi had transformed not only her own heart, but the spirit of the entire community. The calmness and clarity they had cultivated while weaving their shared tapestry had prepared them to embrace this moment with gratitude rather than desperation. They had learned to navigate their fears and uncertainties together, drawing on the strength of one another like an intricate fabric, now resilient and beautiful under the rain. Stepping back from the joyful chaos, Anaya found a quiet spot beneath the eaves of a nearby structure, allowing the soft patter of raindrops to soothe her soul. As she looked out over the village, a gentle smile spread across her face. The mud brick homes glistened in the rain, and the earth drank deeply, soaking in the moisture that would bring life back to their fields. A sense of peace washed over her as she realized the journey they had shared had not only changed their external circumstances, but had also deepened the bonds that united them as a community. "I want to remember this feeling," she murmured to herself, "the joy, the spirit of togetherness that has bloomed under these clouds." Her heart swelled with hope as she watched her neighbors, all intertwined in this moment of celebration, each a vital thread in the tapestry of their collective story. Emerging from her introspection, Anaya joined her village beneath the rain, allowing herself to be swept up in the joy and laughter. As hands came together in embrace, she felt the joy radiating from her heart, joining with those around her to create a collective energy of gratitude and relief. The struggle of the past weeks had led to this moment, and together they had triumphed. In the days that followed, the village flourished anew, the rain revitalizing the crops and restoring a sense of abundance. Anaya helped organize efforts to ensure that the water was rationed wisely, applying the lessons of mindfulness they had established. They set out to harvest what remained of their fields, planting seeds of hope along with their crops, determined to nurture both their land and their community through compassionate collaboration. Through the bond created during their weaving project and the challenges they faced together, Anaya could see how the village was stronger now, more connected than ever. They had transformed the narrative of their story from one of hardship to one of resilience and unity. What was once a struggle against nature had become an opportunity for growth, acceptance, and communal love. As she leaned against her loom, once again a source of creativity and calm, Anaya smiled at how the tapestry they had woven also mirrored their growth. The threads woven with laughter, encouragement, and shared effort now reflected a vibrant spirit that would continue to thrive, even in the face of adversity. The rain fell softly on their village, nourishing the earth and the hearts of all who lived there. Anaya embraced the beauty of this moment and the lessons learned. knowing that they were all part of a greater design, a tapestry of strength interconnected with the love and resilience that would guide them through whatever storms life brought next. Years passed, time weaving its own intricate tapestry of change within Anaya'S life and the lives of those around her. The seasons turned like pages of a well-loved book, and with each cycle, the village thrived under the nurturing rain and the bonds of community that had been forged during the drought. Master Samadhi, the wise sage who had guided her on her transformative journey, passed away peacefully in his sleep, leaving behind a legacy cherished by all who had been touched by his teachings. His gentle spirit lingered in the hearts of those he had impacted, weaving a warmth into the fabric of their existence. Anaya emerged as a respected leader in her village, embodying the wisdom and compassion that Master Samadhi had instilled in her. She became a source of inspiration and solace for her fellow villagers, a beacon of light that guided them through the challenges of life. The teachings of mindfulness and community that she had embraced became an integral part of her being. She practiced them daily and shared them generously with anyone who sought her guidance. The temple, perched high on the mountain, once a secluded spot for contemplation, transformed over the years into a revered place of pilgrimage. It became a beacon of hope for those seeking peace and solace in a turbulent world, drawing visitors from near and far who wished to learn from the essence of Master Samadhi and find their path to inner tranquility. Anaya often found herself welcoming these seekers, sharing stories of her own journey and the wisdom she had gathered along the way, offering them a sanctuary to confront their fears and see the possibility for growth within their storms. One day, as the sun bathed the temple in a golden hue, a young woman arrived at the foot of the mountain. Her face was clouded with anxiety, etched with lines of worry that mirrored the very struggles Anaya had once faced. It was a familiar expression, one that tugged at Anaya'S heartstrings. She stepped forward, her heart open, recognizing the storm swirling in the newcomer's eyes as a reflection of her own past. "Welcome," Anaya said warmly, her voice imbued with the softness of compassion. "You have arrived at a sacred place." She extended her hand, inviting the young woman to step closer. "I sense you carry a heavy burden. Please, share your story when you are ready." The young woman hesitated for a moment, glancing around at the serene surroundings before finally meeting Anaya'S gaze. "I've heard tales of your wisdom," she admitted, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. "I've come seeking peace. My mind is a storm. I feel lost and overwhelmed by my fears." Anaya'S heart ached in recognition. She had once stood in similar shoes, feeling trapped by her own turbulent thoughts. "I understand," she replied, her eyes steady and reassuring. "The storm can feel relentless, but it is also a part of who we are. Here at the temple, we can explore those feelings together, unravel the threads of anxiety, and learn to find calmness among the chaos." As they walked toward the temple, Anaya began to share the teachings of Master Samadhi, recalling the practices that had helped her find peace in her own life. She spoke of mindful breathing, the power of community, and the importance of embracing one's fears rather than running from them. Each word was meant to nurture, to build a bridge from the storm within the young woman's heart to a place of understanding and acceptance. Anaya led her to the familiar woven mats of the temple courtyard, a place where moments of reflection and connection happened between visitors and seekers alike. "Take a moment to breathe," Anaya guided softly. "Feel your feet grounded on the earth and connect to the rhythm of your breath." As the young woman followed her lead, Anaya watched the tension in her shoulders slowly dissipate, her expression softening as she found solace in the present moment. Over the ensuing hours, they spoke and practiced the various teachings Anaya had learned over the years. With each mindful breathing exercise and shared story, the newcomer gradually began to shed the weight of her anxiety. Anaya could see the transformation happening before her eyes, as the storm within the young woman transformed from a chaotic tempest into a gentle breeze, allowing her to experience the much-needed peace she yearned for. That day, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting warm rays through the open doors of the temple, Anaya felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This encounter was more than just an opportunity to guide another person. It was a continuation of the legacy Master Samadhi had instilled in her, a thread in the tapestry of lives touched and transformed through love, understanding, and shared experience. "Thank you," the young woman said, her voice touched with gratitude. "I feel lighter, more connected to myself and those around me. I realize now that I am not alone in this storm." Anaya smiled, her heart swelling with hope. "You are never alone. We are all interconnected. And remember, the journey towards peace is ongoing. It ebbs and flows like the tides. Embrace the moments of calm, and even the storms will teach you valuable lessons along the way." Together, they sat as the twilight deepened, sharing stories under the fading light. The echoes of laughter and the whispers of wisdom began to fill the temple once more, symbolizing the enduring legacy of Master Samadhi and the ongoing journey Anaya had embraced. With each person she met, she felt the threads of connection weave tighter, uniting them in the tapestry of life, hope, and resilience. "Welcome," Anaya said, her voice filled with compassion and warmth. She looked into the eyes of the young woman before her, recognizing the flickering embers of anxiety and longing for peace. "Tell me about your storm." And just like that, the cyclical nature of her journey began anew, the wisdom cultivated within her now a beacon for another soul seeking solace. The young woman hesitated for a moment, then spoke, her words tumbling forth like scattered leaves in a breeze. She shared her fears, her sense of inadequacy, and the myriad doubts that had plagued her for so long. Anaya listened intently, her heart opening as she reflected on her own struggles, recalling the emotions that had once weighed her down, just as they weighed down this newcomer. As the young woman spoke, Anaya was reminded of the teachings she had absorbed during her time with Master Samadhi, the importance of vulnerability, the strength found in sharing one's burdens, and the healing power of community. Each story passed between them was a thread, contributing to the ever-growing tapestry that connected their lives, a shared experience of human existence. Anaya'S own history intertwined with the young woman's narrative, expanding the rich fabric of understanding, compassion, and resilience. Soon, the air around them filled with the warmth of acceptance, and the village, lit by the golden hues of the setting sun, suddenly felt alive and promising. With each word exchanged, Anaya saw the young woman's spirit begin to lift, the storm within her slowly giving way to moments of clarity and light. After the young woman finished speaking, Anaya gently guided her toward the practice of mindful breathing they had discussed earlier. "Let's take a moment to breathe together," she suggested. "Inhale deeply through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth." They shared this practice for several moments, creating a stillness in which both could reflect on their worries and acknowledge the peace they were cultivating together. Anaya was filled with a sense of purpose. This was why she had returned to the village, why she had embraced her role as a leader and teacher. Through each individual she encountered, she witnessed the power of resilience, and she felt a connection that tied them all together in a profound way. Eventually, as the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the world in warm shades of yellow and orange, Anaya turned her gaze to the valley below. The fields, once parched and brown, shimmered with life and potential following the rain that had transformed their landscape. She marveled at the beauty around her, recognizing that the tapestry her village wove was as multifaceted as the land before her. Dark patches of adversity mingled with vibrant threads of hope, and she understood that each moment, each hardship, was an essential part of the whole. Peace isn't a destination, Anaya mused, her heart swelling with gratitude. It's a continuous journey. We learn, we grow, and we weave the threads of life into a beautiful, ever-evolving whole. Each of us plays a part in this tapestry that tells the story of our resilience and interconnectedness. The young woman nodded thoughtfully, her eyes glistening with understanding. I see that now. We're not alone in this. We can face the storms together. Yes, exactly, Anaya affirmed, feeling a rush of warmth and fulfillment. The cycle of learning and teaching continued, each generation passing down the wisdom gained through trials and connection. Remember to embrace your journey with kindness and patience. Every storm can teach us something, just as every calm day allows us to appreciate beauty. As the stars began to twinkle against the deepening twilight sky, Anaya felt the weight of her purpose settle comfortably within her. She was part of something greater, an eternal thread in the intricate tapestry of humanity. And in that realization, she found joy and hope, knowing that the lessons learned at the temple would live on through her and the countless lives she would touch. Welcome, she offered again, a smile gracing her lips as she welcomed the young woman closer, inviting her into the embrace of shared experiences and unconditional support. Let's weave this tapestry together, not just for ourselves, but for every soul that needs a reminder that they are part of this beautiful, interconnected journey. And so, the cycle continued, the teachings passed on, and the journey to peace unfolded, one thread at a time, weaving a tapestry of hope and resilience for generations to come.